Good morning, Cincinnati, and welcome into another episode of the Bearcat Brunch brought to you by our sponsor, Royal Links Golf Tours. Have you always wanted to play golf at St. Andrews? Have you ever enjoyed that perfect pint of Guinness in Ireland? Royal Links Golf Tours is a golf tour specialist offering unforgettable golf experiences to Scotland, England, Ireland, and Wales. Their custom itineraries are more than golf trips. They are immersive, cultural, and country experiences that will surprise and delight you, both on and off the course. Royal Links Golf Tours is owned by former Bearcat quarterback Hayden Moore and his partner, UC alum Jeff Bartholomew. So if you'd like to get that round in at St. Andrews or Ballybunion or enjoy that perfect pint in Ireland, visit their website at royallinksgolftours.com and call them at 770-331-1525. And with that, we are back again with my co-host Jeff Howell to recap a disappointing and frustrating 25-21 loss to the University of Central Florida in Orlando, ending the Bearcats' 19-game conference winning streak. Jeff, good morning.
Good morning, Dave.
As we do every week, I will kick it to you for your first initial thoughts.
Lack of execution, inconsistent, and it backed up my first half offensive MVP, Ben Bryant, because when he's a little bit off, everything goes off the rails.
Yeah, it was there's a lot to dig into on this one. My biggest takeaway almost doesn't really have anything to do necessarily like offense, defense specific. It's like, okay, where was the tough and nasty?
Yeah.
Like, where was the offensive, defensive, line driven program? Where was the just like the Bearcat mentality, the Black Cat mentality? Like on Wednesday night, I said I did not expect a pretty offensive game. I expected it to be a little prettier for both teams. It was pretty ugly for both teams from a scoring standpoint. I mean, UCF moved the ball, had those 2 red zone turnovers, but like I did not think this was going to be some back and forth knockout punch type thing. I said, I trust the defense. I trust Coach Fickle. That was the reasons I gave for why I thought they would win this game. And for all of the offensive struggles, they were in the position twice to win the game in the fourth quarter. The lead well into the fourth quarter on 2 occasions, and they gave up 2 of the most uncharacteristic Bearcat drives I've ever seen. You have a backup quarterback who's not like he's never played.
I was just
so
saying,
it's not like he played a lot last year. He hasn't really played this year, but you give up a 77-yard touchdown drive, 13-play drive, and then you come back and go right down the field and score to take the lead again, and you give up a 75-yard touchdown, another 75-yard touchdown drive. Like, I understand, and we'll get into the offense, and there's plenty to discuss, but like this, we've lived off of defense. We've lived off of this mentality, and that you're just not going to be able to do that against us. That's what Chad and I have talked about for how many years? How many teams are just going to be able to drive the ball and score enough points to beat us? And twice they did it just in the fourth quarter. After really not moving the ball
very well at all.
That successfully, or at least not capitalizing that successfully. So that's my biggest takeaway is just you needed the D to step up and be the Cincinnati defense that we expect, and they didn't do it, point blank.
It was very uncharacteristic from the start of the game, though. Like it was almost like at the beginning when John Rice Plumlee was in and they were kind of doing what they wanted to do, running the ball. It kind of knocked the Bearcats defense back on its heels, and they didn't really seem to recover from any of that. They were just soft on a lot of the little, they were giving them a lot of these little short passes. And I mean, I think the longest play of the game was Ryan Montgomery's 39-yard touchdown run.
It was. I mean, and I wrote, this is what I kind of thought. The first half, they spread them, or especially the first quarter. They didn't really do much of anything in the second quarter, but the first quarter, they spread us out horizontally, used their speed to stretch us, and we had some missed tackles, some bad angles, some just poor play against a lot of their motion and misdirection and eye candy type stuff. And then in the second half, when Mikey Keene was in, it was like you said, it was a lot of quick, short stuff. Like they attempted very few, what I would even consider like down the field throws.
Yeah.
None of them were completed. So I'm a little confused. And again, this is just us, Sunday morning quarterbacking, but like with so little attempts actually down the field, it felt like we were giving them 8 yards.
Yeah.
On way too many easy throws. I mean, he would just take the snap, rock back, boom, it's out. 8 yards, 9 yards, break a tackle, 12 yards, 14 yards. And it just felt like in the second half then it was more of that and bully ball. Like they used Isaiah Bowser more. They used RJ Harvey more, which I think RJ Harvey's their best back. I was super confused at Ryan O'Keefe's usage against ECU, and what do you know? They used him a ton. It's like, why is this so hard to figure out? It just felt like, I mean, the defense, 505 yards allowed, 6 yards per play, completely controlled at the line of scrimmage. I mean, I know that we are really starting to dig into some depth issues along the defensive line with Malik out and now Jabari out. I mean, those are probably the two of our best defensive linemen. So it's going to take a toll. But I mean, they have it as a QBH, so I don't know if it's a QB hit or a QB hurry. We had 1 sack, 7 tackles for loss, and 1 QB hurry or hit. Like just nothing, totally dominated on the defensive line again by an offensive line that had a lot of struggles against ECU last week. That's the perplexing part, is like they either just like didn't do anything they were supposed to do last week, and this is more of like who they really are. Or we just totally kind of crapped the bed in every aspect, whether it was game plan, execution. Because
I think a lot of it comes back to what you're saying. Like where was the tough and nasty? Where were these guys just like bullying people? And it didn't happen. It flat out didn't happen. There's nobody there whenever like. It was a QB hurry. So Noah Potter was credited with the QB hurry, and then you get to the quarterback one time.
Yeah, 258 yards rushing, 5 yards a carry. The quarterback or the third down problems reared their head again, 7 for 15. And it was just very, like we said, it's a very non-UC defensive effort.
It's just a very frustrating game
against an offense that has big playability. We know that. I mean, they had 30 first downs. Too many. Just that's the part that I think that I just didn't understand or frustrated me the most, was that it just felt like it was very easy for them, even when King came in, to just get and we'll talk about this offensively, because I think this is a problem that I'm seeing offensively, is like they gave him a lot of gimmies. They gave him you hear, a gimme, a freebie, whatever. It's like, here's just a free 7 yards. Like it's not, you don't have to read anything. They didn't want to go down the field very much because they rightfully so. They were afraid of pressure and sacks and everything. So it was a lot of quick stuff. It was a lot of the horizontal stuff. But even in especially when Mikey King came in, it was a lot of one read. Just catch the snap, turn, and throw to Javon Baker, or throw to Ryan O'Keefe, or throw to Kobe Hudson. And it was just an easy 7-8 yard completion. And then you're at 2nd and 3 or 3rd and 2. And
I thought they played pretty soft on the outside and gave up that 0 to 7 yards right there. And it was like, just flick it out there and then let's hope we can make a tackle. And there were a lot of missed tackles that
Yeah.
just didn't, and that turns into a 8, 9, 10-yard, 12-yard pickup. Nothing huge because, like we said, I think that their biggest play was a 26-yard run. So, and that came late in the game.
Yeah, they had Harvey's touchdown run in the first quarter, and then they had a throw to Kobe Hudson on that last drive. They went for 26. I mean, they had 18, 26, and then a 17-yard touchdown run just in that last drive.
The last drive just felt like
inevitable.
Yeah, it's much like I feel when like old school, like with the Bengals, a little bit this year. Like kind of at the end of the game, like there's a little bit of time left. You need one stop, and you're in this weird, odd prevent defense. Like, not that what they've been doing the whole game had been working, but at least they weren't getting like, just pushed down the field like in 3 minutes, 2 minutes. That wasn't happening.
The drive before that was the one that where they got the ball with 10 and a half minutes left. And they had to have been shell-shocked. Like, they had been beating us the entire game. Get the safety. We had done nothing offensively. And we go right down the field and score. And there's 10 and a half minutes left. And you've got to be thinking, like, are you kidding me? Like, we haven't really done anything on offense, and now somehow they have the lead, and their defense is gonna close this thing out against our backup quarterback. And they have 3rd and 7, and I'm like, okay, here's the perfect chance. 3rd and 7, your own 25-yard line, get a stop, get a punt, and build off of the last drive where we went down the field real easy and scored a touchdown. And on one of those plays that you and I are talking about, like 12-yard completion to Javon Baker, and it was just like a little pitch and catch, catch it for 7, power forward for the other 5, whatever. And then they just went right down, and I don't even know if they had another 3rd down in that drive.
They didn't.
And
that was it.
It's just so uncharacteristic. I mean, I guess it's so shocking because it literally never happens. I mean, we've done this for how many years, and those types of things have literally never happened. So when they do,
twice.
It's even more shell-shocking because it's not like this is something that happens even, has happened a couple times. Like, they've won 19 straight conference games. They haven't lost a game outside of the SEC in like 3 years. So, like, it's not like this is something that we're like, oh yeah, well, this happened here and it happened there.
Yeah.
And then for it to happen again after they score and the offense takes like 4 plays and goes down and scores. And now you're like, okay, 3 minutes. Yes, they have all their timeouts, but like, you literally only need one stop at that point to really give yourself a good chance. You're up 3. You make them use all your you get a stop, you make them use all your timeouts, say you punt it back to them. They're going to have minimal time.
And again, they didn't have any 3rd down conversions. They didn't even have to attempt a third down.
No.
Yeah. In that I don't know. And then you've got 48 seconds and no timeouts, 48 seconds, and it reverted back to what it looked like at the beginning of the game, where I don't know. I mean, obviously they're going to have, a lot of guys back. They're probably dropping 8, but whatever. And then Ben Bryant on that last drive, I don't think he threw one ball in the neighborhood of the sticks.
No, I mean,
and I get it whenever you're at 4th and 30, you're like,
there's not much you can do there,
at that
especially
point.
on the first down play when you give up James Tunsil gets beat pretty easily, and it's gonna be harder for Ben in that particular situation because like the routes that are being called are probably you're trying to get down the field in a very minimal amount of time, so it's not like there's short routes being called. So you can say like get rid of the ball, but there's probably nobody for him to get rid of the ball to,
right? Because
the routes are still being developed down the field. You got beat pretty easily, so. And then once that happens, like there's nothing you're gonna be. I mean, you're gonna need a total fluke play after that to be able to do anything. So I mean,
Bearcat 12 brings up a good point over here, like the defense being worn out from being on the field that long.
Oh, sure, it was a hot it was in the 80s. Like you already have a couple guys down. They were on the field a ton. I mean, they had, I think it was 37 minutes time of possession.
Yes.
To 22.
Correct.
So yeah, eventually there is some level of an effect there. I can't quantify, how much, but sure, you're on the field a bunch, and they've been kind of just like leaning on you. Like they never busted any of their like super explosive run. I mean, it was just a lot of 5 yards here, 8 yards here, 12 yards here, just a very methodical approach that eventually you're just not going to be able to withstand it anymore. But again, it's not the first time we've been in that situation either. So, and they've always figured out a way. So, I think that's just the kind of shocking, frustrating part is that they weren't able to do that.
Seal the game. I like I said, I tweeted out yesterday that I had a lot of things going through my head after that game, and trying to sort through it was, on top of the fact that I was sick and trying to figure all that out, but it was just like frustrating. It was a game that like was pretty boring, and I've said that about several games this year, that it just seemed boring. A little bit we've been playing with fire, I think, throughout the year to like and finding ways to win. I mean, you can't keep starting games spotting the other team, 10 points, and you're going 3 and out, maybe going for it on fourth down the one time, not getting it. You can't keep doing that and then just say, well, our defense is gonna go ahead and handle, the shortfalls of what our offense is doing, and we'll score enough points eventually.
Right. Hey, I guess you want to get into the offense now?
Yeah, we can start there.
Okay. First half, I have no idea what they were trying to do.
First quarter,
first quarter. Like I mean, I'm not going to pretend that I know much of anything, but I just don't understand what the plan was.
3 and out.
I mean,
3 and out, 4 and out, and then a field goal.
You run, you have what, 3rd and short on the first drive, and you run Evan in, which we've talked about. Like I've talked about that I don't really understand doing it that way, because guess what happened? They loaded the box and basically went all out, knowing that it's going to be either a dive or he's going to keep it. Like and then he doesn't come in the rest of the game, and we'll get into that because I thought Luke had an interesting quote, and this is kind of a bigger picture thing that I was thinking about. But in the same way that UCF had these like easy throws, this is the part of the passing game on the offense that I don't understand is, where are the freebies? Where are the gimme throws in this passing game?
They don't run any.
I mean, I love the fact that they are aggressive.
Go to the tight end. They did start incorporating Lenny and Josh on the drives where they walk down the field.
Right. I mean, I love the fact they're aggressive, and we talk about explosives and all that. But like, there has to be something in between trying to hit explosive plays and nothing. Like, you watch the passing attack, and there is no time really where Ben just, outside of very few, and they even do them a little bit deeper than like what UCF did, and that's semantics of how you want to run your offense. But like, when does he just catch the ball, turn, and hit a guy?
Well, I will say on several of those, it looked like he was just throwing the ball away, when in fact he was just high and outside on a lot of his throws, and it was.
He did not, like, here's my thing. He didn't play good. He didn't play bad. He missed some throws. He had some drops, but
then he put some dimes out there too.
He's really inconsistent right now, and I don't think we're scheming up easy plays for them offensively.
The easy confidence building plays that everybody always talks about.
Whether it's for him, whether it's for the running game, I don't understand. UCF had problems with runs to the outside last week, their defensive ends crash hard. So what do? We run the ball between the tackles pretty much every time we ran the ball until we basically abandoned the run game until a great call on the run to Ryan Montgomery. Great call. I mean, and good call on the little quick pitch to Chuck that got him the first down on the drive that I think it was on the drive that Josh scored on. But like, they're good up the middle. They're aggressive. They're good up the middle. That's where they like to send their pressures. That's where they have pretty stout defensive tackles. And we just run the ball right up the middle. We don't try to get to the outside. Like, I don't get it.
Again, frustrating and confusing.
Ben held the ball too long on occasions. He had 2 critical drops, one by Tyler Scott that would have been a first down and maybe a touchdown or led to a touchdown right at the end of the first half. Yeah. One by Jaden Thompson that was a good play by Ben to escape pressure, get the ball out to him on a third down that would have extended the first drive of the second half. But then he also missed some throws, and I don't know. I don't know. Like, I'm not sure what more. If you're going to keep calling plays like this and keep wanting to stress the defense, then you're going to live in this inconsistent world.
Yeah, that's true.
Against good defenses. Like, they have a good defense. They were number 1 in the country in red zone defense. They're a top, 5, 10 pass defense. Like, they pressured and bailed and kept things in front of them, and we didn't take those quick, easy throws. I thought that the offensive line had a really, really tough time with their games. They did a lot tackle end stunting, a lot of games with then a runner right up the middle. We did not pick up like the middle. The center guard or center guard did not have a good game picking up their games and picking up their pressures up the middle. A lot of that was right in Ben's face, either resulted in bad throws or sacks. So, and we're going to see that from Navy. That's exactly what they're going to do. That's what they do. So they better get that figured out because the offensive line did not pick that up at all yesterday. Holly asked about Corey Kiner. No idea.
Luke said afterwards that he wasn't hurt, that he was available to play. They were just going with the hot hand, and that they
hot hand. They ran the ball for like 18 yards, not counting Ryan Montgomery's touchdown run.
Yeah.
there was no hot hand.
I think previous hot hand, maybe it was like I don't know, it was still in a pizza warmer from last week or whatever. It was kind of a weird situation because like a lot of people were noticing it on Twitter, obviously, that Corey hadn't been in the game at all. And so it was like, well, is his injury flared back up? Did something happen in the warm ups? Like, what's going on? And Luke afterwards just said, no, like we were just going with he said hot hand. We need to look we need to look and see if having those 3 guys in is something we need to do more of. Meaning,
I'm not saying
Montgomery, Kiner, and McClellan.
The way they were blocking and the way UCF's defensive line was playing, I'm not saying that it would have
changed anything,
made a difference. I have no idea, but I mean, it was still odd that you're not running the ball very well at all, and you don't at least just go, let's see what happens. But
we've talked about it in the past, like the difference in the running styles. Like McClellan is very, very much. I mean, he can, lay a hit here and there, but he's very much a finesse, like super speed kind of.
He's a one cut space guy, and Corey's more of a straight ahead, like get what you can get, and if you break it, you break it type.
Yeah. Thing. And I was confused along with everybody else. Like I think some people sometimes think that we have special insider information on that while the game's going on. I did send Aaron a message because Aaron was down there, but he refused to go over to Luke during the game and find out what was going on.
Come on, Aaron. But like four sacks allowed to a team that had 12 coming into the game. Seven QB hurries / hits, whatever you want to call them. Numerous pressures. Like, That has not been their MO. Their MO has been like keep like play off coverage, keep everything in front of you type stuff. I mean, Holt Nailers went 30 for 36 against them last week.
Well,
And
he's been
they had
around
a
for 80
running back,
years.
they had a running back go for over 100 yards, and then we come in and we literally cannot move the ball for a vast majority of the game. I said they brought pressure, we didn't pick it up. There's nothing quick in the this just keeps coming back to I don't understand. There's
The
nothing
scheme,
quick
yeah.
in the offense to combat pressure, to combat blitzes. To me, the offense is static. Like there's limited motion. If there's motion, it's from Josh or Lenny, and it's like a half line motion.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really dictate anything to the defense. It doesn't help you see if they're in man or zone. Like we never motion our receivers outside of Trey coming in motion to like get us jet sweep or fake a jet sweep. There's just no pre-snap movement to help you see what the defense is trying to do. There's no misdirection, whether it's I think the running game is incredibly boring, like incredibly basic.
Well, it's all very basic. Like the entirety of the offense, because it's try and hit somebody going deep, or let's hope that one of these runs gets broken. When the run is getting stuffed like that, and then you have to wait. This kind of goes to what Bearcat 12 was talking about. I thought on that when he got tackled for the safety, sacked for a safety, it seemed to me that it was a play wherein he was just waiting for it to develop downfield. There was not a quick option, which we've already hit on that a lot thus far, but he was just standing back there, I believe, waiting for something to develop downfield.
Right.
And the routes weren't developed yet, and he didn't get rid of the ball and ends up taking a safety, which could have been even worse because it was almost a touchdown,
right,
by a hair of his knee.
Well, it wouldn't have been. It still wouldn't have been a touchdown. It would have been like an intentional grounding.
Well, yeah, if he had thrown it.
But I mean, I didn't watch it multiple times, so I don't want to misspeak. To me, it felt kind of like they got middle pressure, and maybe he was holding on to it to try to, because maybe he knew like I can't just throw it away if there's no receiver around because I'm still in the tackle box.
Yeah.
So he's kind of drifting, and then at the very last second, I guess he tried. I don't know. I mean, you get in those situations, who knows what happens.
But I don't think he was even trying to throw it away as he was going down. I legitimately think it got knocked free of his hand. Like I think it would have been. Yeah. I think they would have confirmed the fumble had his knee not been down.
Yeah, I don't know. I try to black out from that.
But the angles on, like, even though it was on ESPN, like there were several times where like the play was happening off the screen, like off the camera angle.
That happened at Tulsa too. I don't know if that's just where they have these cameras in these stadiums that you can't pick up these like bottom screen throws and things
like the sideline plays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's happened multiple times, and I don't know if that happens at UC games too, because I'm there and I don't necessarily go back and rewatch everything, but like
it does. We're
back to being 4-14 on third down. Offensively, I don't know, man. It's play calling is a tough thing. It's like if it's successful, then it was I guess it was a good play. I'm just kind of looking at it more holistically of like you've had a progressive drop in production starting with the second half of the Indiana game.
Yeah.
Like, the Tulsa game was fine, but it wasn't great. The running game got going. USF, not great. SMU, not great. You obviously had the big time red zone issues. And then this week. So like what are we doing to remedy that? Where are the fixes coming from a structural standpoint? Like you can tell me put in Evan Prater. Okay, do you really think that that's going to fix? You're still going to be calling a lot of the same plays. From what you've watched, do you think that fixes where this offense is struggling?
The only thing I can think that maybe Evan Prater would fix, and we haven't really gotten a chance to see a lot of it, so I'm just going based on what I saw when he was in high school because I watched him a whole lot there. Is his escapability um, to maybe keep a play alive a little longer for some of if we're going to continue to have these like kind of long developing pass routes. But then I don't know. I don't know. Maybe the team has seen that he can't then make the throw as accurately downfield because I think Ben Bryant is very accurate downfield. It's kind of these intermediate ones that he doesn't make. So maybe Prater can keep it alive long enough that some of those can develop and he can make that throw. That's about the only. I mean, yes, he can run. There's a threat of that, so maybe it changes the defenses up a little bit. And if he's in there more than just, hey, come in on third down, and they're going to stack the box because they know what's coming. But outside of that, I think it goes back to more what you touched on earlier, that there's not a good scheme for these short, quick hit passes that are typically there that they could run some of that stuff. So I don't know that really gets you over the hump.
Right.
If that's
and I think, in college football now, like you obviously see a ton of people with a ton of teams with, if you don't want to call them dual threat, they're at least mobile, like I'm not going to call Clayton Tune a dual threat or even like Tanner Mordecai a dual threat, but like Clayton Tune is very capable of running and when he needs to and extending the play in that regard. And Ben Bryant is not that type of quarterback. So if you're going to play a strictly pocket passing quarterback, I feel like you just have to give him more opportunities for easy plays. Easy plays to stretch the defense both. I mean, we know we can stretch the defense vertically, but like we don't really do a whole lot to try to stretch them horizontally and then come back in with the run or come back in with the tight ends. Like it's not something we do. And so I want to read this quote because I thought it was interesting. This was Luke yesterday talking about the quarterbacks, about considering a change. And he said, no, we're always ready to do it when we need to. And I don't mean that because things aren't going well, but just as a change of pace at times. We felt like that's what we needed to do, and if Ben was able to go, we needed to stick with it. Evan was ready to roll. Not that it would change a whole lot. Maybe it would loosen up the run game a little bit, help us out a little bit. I think that's where we have to really look at it and see the other ways we can use all of our guys the best way possible. That last line, to me, is the issue. I think that's where we have to really look at it and see the other ways we can use all of our guys the best way possible. I personally do not think a quarterback change on the whole truly would matter right now, the way that the offense is playing. I'm not going to be I think Ben was fine. They could have won the game. He was fine. He wasn't great. He wasn't bad. He was fine. My problem is that he is not good enough or playing well enough right now to not be able to find a way to get Evan involved. And that to me is more than just, if you want to call it like we don't run a 2-quarterback system, well, I don't really care because the offense stinks right now. So figure it out. Like the offense is not functioning at a level where it's okay to not have him contributing. And, I just think, like, are you saying you can't figure out a way to get him involved? Like, because if that's the case, that's, like, frankly unacceptable.
Well, I think Tony Pike tweeted out yesterday and said this is not acceptable. And I assume it was probably on the whole of the game. But it does seem like loyalty to a fault on some of these things.
And I mean, we're not at practice. I don't know. I don't know if you put Evan in, how condensed is the playbook? It might not be at all. It might be a lot. I don't know. I'm just looking at this truly as like a fan and someone who follows the team, covers this team, like I'm just having a hard time understanding, like, with the struggles that the offense is having, that we're incapable or too hard-headed to be like, let's try this. And I mean try something more than just putting him in on 3rd and 3
Right.
one time.
At the beginning of the game, and then he didn't even run it on that one, right?
No, he gave it because he got murdered, but so did Chuck because everybody knew what was coming. So like, I'm not saying platoon. I'm not saying 2 quarterback. I'm not saying
like every other series.
You get 3 series and then you get 3 series and then we see who's playing better. Like, that to me is an insane way to do it, because how does either quarterback have confidence if you're like, we're going to basically let you guys play a couple series and then whoever happens to do better, then you get to play.
Right. Then the other guy's going to sit on the bench. But the way they're doing it now
is not working.
It's just, Ben, it's yours. Like, you're out there, and we're going to keep calling things the way we're calling them. And Evan be ready to go in on, a short yardage 3rd down situation where they know what's coming and try to make something out of nothing, instead of maybe tossing them in a few times here and there, like change some things up. Hell, put them both on the field at the same time.
Why can't you do it in a drive? Like, you get a 1st down and you run him in and you run then he runs a couple plays. Like, I'm just spitballing because the offense is not
trying to figure something out.
It's not productive right now. And there has to be something in between the nope, we're not going to play this guy that we know is talented and we know can possibly give us some stuff. And then the polar opposite of we don't want a 2 QB system. Well, neither do I, but there has to be something in the middle.
Because the offense currently is so inconsistent that when you go back and you look at the if you look at the play-by-play, which gives you every drive, and you just keep seeing 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, 4 and out, and then a 10-play drive for a field goal, and then 4 and out, 3 and out, 9-play drive for a field goal, 3 and out, 3 and out with a safety. You can't have 10 drives in a game and have 2 successful drives or 3 successful drives and a bunch of 3 and outs.
Right.
Because then you end up with 37 minutes of possession for a team that does run the ball a lot, so they're going to typically have the ball longer anyway, but twice the amount of time of possession leaning the other direction, and you're going to end up with what happened at the end, where you have a defense that is typically, I know that they were off the game. They were a little bit off for the majority of the game, but now they've been on the field so long and they were already off a little bit, and it kind of, to my eyes, put them off even more. And they were gassed. They couldn't, and they weren't making tackles. The last touchdown that UCF scored, Arquan Bush kind of threw a half-hearted shoulder into him as he was coming across the middle.
Right. And
I like Arquan, but
there were issues all over the place. But I think just from people can crush me, whatever. I think Ben is a perfectly fine, capable quarterback. He makes plenty of good throws. He makes bad throws. He's a very much a college quarterback, but he's not playing at a level, and this offense isn't functioning at a level that precludes you from going, let's see what we can jumpstart with Evan. Let's get creative. Let's give him a series where, he knows it's his series, and Ben knows it's his series, and it's, you go, whatever the game flow is, and it's hard to just come into a game and just go, okay, you're going to get this series regardless of how the game is going. And I understand that, that is kind of an idea that I don't really agree with. But whether you need a jump start or whether you want to attack, whether you got a couple good 1st downs, and then you want to run him in and give them a totally different look, and because you've been doing this one thing really good, and now we're going to totally change it up, and now we're going to do this because they're not going to be ready for it, or they're not going to have the personnel in the field to combat it. They're just not, it's not good enough right now. It's not winning offense right now where it's okay to me to just be like, we're not even going to try.
To just like this is what we're doing, and like to go to what Bearcat 12 says over here, that loyalty to a failing offense isn't a valid excuse for Fickle. I'm not saying it's a valid excuse. I'm just saying.
I don't necessarily think it's like I don't think he's just being like loyal to a particular player or particular thing. Like, I just think he sticks with his. This guy's the starter.
Like, this is the vision. This is
he doesn't see it the way him and I do not see it similarly. As like, I don't see Evan coming in for series here, series there as like a 2-quarterback thing. I see it as utilizing the full talent of your roster.
Well, I mean, if you go all the way back to like this is way back to like when Ritter came in at UCLA, they have always said that it was the plan to like switch back and forth and see who was doing well.
Right.
And it just so happened that Ritter did well and ended up staying in the game, and then we know where that went. And I'm not by any means saying that if you were to start a game that way now, that Evan would come in and blow the doors off, and then Ben's going to be on the bench the rest of the year. And play very sparingly. I'm not saying that. I am seeing it the same way that Dave sees it, that you've got to change something up, because what's going on right now is not working. So whether that's scheming some more of these easy throws, if you're going to stick solely with Ben and then bring in Evan on these like one-off, 2-3 plays a game kind of thing, okay, then you need to scheme something else into the offense that gives you these easy wins in a drive that can keep a drive going, so that you're not, okay, well, we're going to run it for 2 yards and then we're going to try and throw a deep ball. Maybe you get it, maybe you don't. If that doesn't happen, then we're just going to run it on third down again, get stuffed, and then punt the ball away.
Right.
Because that's a lot what it seems like is going on right now.
When we get the ball down inside the red zone, and especially like inside the 5-yard line, we bring in extra tight ends and extra linemen because we feel like that's where we have an advantage. We in the past, and you see tons of teams do this, we've used Michael Warren in a Wildcat situation. UCF used Isaiah Bowser in a Wildcat situation. Like, you're using the full scope of your roster in as many ways as possible to take advantage of the talent that you have available to you. That's what I'm saying here. Like, why can't they bring Evan in on 3rd and 3 and put him in shotgun with no running back there? And he runs essentially the Wildcat with his athletic ability. Or there's a throw. Because we know he can. I mean, he's not incapable of throwing the ball. So you can't play him as a strictly running guy. We do those things when we get into short yardage or when we get into goal line. Like, why? I just don't understand why the quarterback is different.
Maybe some of that does go back to the fact that we're not at practice or in meetings or in.
Oh, I'm sure it does.
Any of these things. But it's to the point where, and a lot of it has been masked, I think, by the wins, by the fact that they've been able to pull out, wins when they start, slow and they're down, and then they come back, and a lot of it is the defense. I mean, they did force the one turnover. They forced the one turnover. Where threats, I think it got credited to somebody else, but I think it was threats coming in and knocking the ball loose. So you've got that forced one, which turned into 2 points for UCF, and then you get the other turnover, which I think ended up, did that one turn into a touchdown, or it turned into a touchdown? That was the 10-play drive. I think where Wiley scored at the end. And they used the tight ends very well on that one, on that drive. I think Lenny Taylor had a good little seam up the middle for like, I don't know, 15 yards or something like that. And then they used Wiley several times on that drive, and it looked like the offense was like finally like going to start clicking again here going in, and just didn't happen that way. You have that touchdown, you get the ball back on a punt, and you run 6 plays and punt. And then it turned into UCF touchdown. Then we turned around and came back and answered. And then, unfortunately, UCF put another 75-yard drive together, back-to-back 70-plus yard drives that drain some clock off, and you end up, looking down the barrel of no timeouts in 48 seconds to drive down the field, and it just isn't going to happen.
Good morning, Lambeg. How's sunny? Is it California? I don't know. I know you're on the West Coast, but yeah, I mean, it's what is it? The old Molly Hatchet, flirting with disaster. I mean, we were doing it for a while there, and it finally. And I think that's even to me that's even like the even more frustrating part is Steven breaking news?
Is there breaking Big 12?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't see anything on my Twitter, but I think that's the frustrating part too, to me at least, is like all of the things we've talked about for 45 minutes. They still were in position to win the game twice.
Yeah. And
so it's like that makes it even more frustrating. Is that all those things, and you still had a shot to win, and you just this time you couldn't close it down. All the times before we have guys have made big plays. The other team has self-destructed.
It was again frustrating, confusing as to what was going on. Like there's two drives where they went 70+ yards at the end of the game. Again, it was like, obviously you look at the stats, there was little to no pressure on Mikey Keene to have to do anything spectacular. I didn't think, he did what he needed to do to win the game. I didn't think he did anything spectacular, and we just weren't able to get there. A lot of it was were those little quick passes, and we weren't getting back there and or covering any of that. It was a lot of soft coverage, I thought. Like I said at the beginning at the top of the show, and it was just frustrating to watch it happen, because it was like, like the end of those games where you just go into a prevent kind of defense and just couldn't slow them down, just allowed them to move down the field, 10 yards at a time, and it's not going to work.
No. Apparently there is breaking news.
Uh-oh.
The Big 12 scores big by renewing media rights deal with ESPN and Fox. Coming to terms with ESPN and Fox on a 6-year rights agreement worth a total of $2.28 billion, an annual average of $380 million, according to sources. The Big 12 has 2 years remaining on its current deal, which runs through 2024-2025, and an annual average of $220 million. Let's see. This is all from Sports Business Journal. Trying to skim through here. The Big 12's ability to not only strike a new contract with the two networks, but also to generate a substantial raise in the rights fees was considered a serious long shot last year when Oklahoma and Texas left. But that has not been the case. At this stage, the Big 12's future, blah, blah, yeah, so you are looking at the extension will bring in $380 million a year, which is a $160 million increase from its current deal.
You're going to have to use the ESPN app a whole lot, Matt. But hopefully it won't be like ESPN Plus.
Here's one thing that our fans are not really used to, that they'll need to get used to, is there's this kind of like inside discussion about the way Fox broadcasts their games, and a lot of people don't like it because they show, like, it's weird. They show limited replays, and they have their philosophy is like they want the immersive college atmosphere, so they show a lot of like crowd shots, player reaction shots, like band, all the other things instead of like on a play showing the replay of a game or a replay of the play itself.
Yeah.
If you watched like Ohio State, Penn State, like they don't really show a ton of like replay of the play that actually just happened. So it's a little bit, it's different. I mean, there's a little like groundswell on Twitter about like Fox broadcasts being terrible and that they don't show enough stuff.
I wish, and I know that this isn't really possible because of the way that like college games are done. And it's not that I know exactly what I'm looking at with like an all 22 kind of thing. Like I don't, not breaking down those kinds of things in that way, but it would be nice to be able to at least see the entirety of the field and the play, like as far as college goes, because sometimes you end up with like what I was talking about earlier, where like the TV angles sometimes totally miss the play, or they're like overly zoomed in on some, on like the ball carrier or whatever, and you don't get to see what's going on that maybe would cause what's happening with the ball carrier kind of thing. And I know that it's like that's a pipe dream in college football, but
yeah. So Bearcat 12 asks, what's the per school payout? The per school payout once this new contract kind of goes into effect with 12 teams will be just under $32 million a team.
And that's before like all the extra
That's
stuff.
That's
just the media.
That's just tier 1 and tier 2 media. So you'll still have whatever the playoff money is. You'll still have your Big 12 championship money. Your basketball tournament actually makes you money now, instead of losing money, which is what happens currently. Now it's not going to be like a ton or anything, but
and what is UC's current? What is the AAC media deal worth to UC right now?
I think around 7.
So it's a halfway decent jump just in media deal for UC.
Yeah. Yes, it is higher. It is higher than. Is it higher than I expected? It's kind of right around what I expected. I thought it would be around 30 for the media, the straight up media portion. So 31. I mean, 31. I mean, to put it into perspective, the Big 12 gave dispersed last year everything totally. The total allotment was like 42 and change. So this new deal will just be 31 for media. So you're probably going to get, I don't know, into the 50s once you're in this,
said and done.
once you're in this deal, once the new playoff, the new playoff, who the hell knows? I mean, that could just be so much money, but it'll be structured differently, possibly with,
each rounds,
or how you do will get you a larger share, So I don't know exactly, but you could probably, I could foresee it getting near 60. Yeah, I think your mark was shooting for 40 or for 400. I don't think that was ever going to be the case. Getting to 380 sounds like kind of like a meet me in the middle, because I think ESPN and Fox were initially wanting to be around 350 combined. So if it's 380, I think that is I think that's pretty good, considering what Bob Bowlesby said, Oklahoma and Texas account for 50%. And no, I don't think that this, I don't think this changes the equation for like trying to get Pac-12 teams.
Yeah.
But
and we don't know. There could be some things written in there, or like some discussions that were had that say, like, depending on, when Oklahoma and Texas leave, like, if you get
I'm sure there's
group or this group,
I would think that there's escalators in there. If particular teams joined, then you would have a bump in money and not a further splitting of the current amount. I don't think that that's carte blanche. I don't think that's like if any team joins. I think
Yeah.
ESPN and Fox will probably say like if you can get XYZ, then yes, we'll come back and we'll
Discuss more, potentially
we'll
more
we'll
money. Yeah.
compensate for that. But it's not like, hey, if you add North Texas and no, we're not doing that.
Right. Because right now because this money, what you said, it gives 2 more years for the current contract.
Yeah.
So this is all based on no Oklahoma and Texas in the conference.
Right.
So
yeah, this is a 12 team. So I don't know if I'm not sure in reading so far. I haven't been able to read as much because we're still doing this, but
Right.
I don't know if that bumps it up for the next 2 years while they're still in it. I'm guessing it does. But either way, I think it's a solid deal. I'm not going to call it like groundbreaking, earth-shattering, but it's a good solid deal. I am excited to see how everybody on the West Coast spins this is good for the Pac-12. That'll be some fun reading.
Well, the Pac-12 is going to end up with the same kind of deal as the SEC and Big Ten. Did you know that?
Yeah, they're going to catch them eventually.
Yeah, sometime. Good morning, Tonk. The love of woke up feeling like the love of your life broke your heart.
Broke your heart, so I broke her jaw.
Oh. All right.
But I mean, we got the breaking news. We got to talk about it. But I think we've kind of it'll be interesting. We won't get too deep into like what's going to happen, but something on the offensive side, especially. Like the defense had a bad game against a team that can exploit you with their speed and with their scheme, and they had a bad game, and it was stunning and disappointing and shocking because that rarely ever happens. But I'm not really worried about the defense.
And we're still in a. I mean, Luke said he still believes all of their goals from the beginning of the season are on the table.
They are. It's just it's a little more muddied now. That loss was not like a ender as far as making the conference championship. If they win their next 4 games, then they're definitely going to be. I can't say that it's like 100% that they're going to be in it because with a loss, you just don't know how the tiebreakers and stuff are going to work out. But Tulane is the only undefeated team in the conference now. They still have to play UCF at home and come to Cincinnati. UCF obviously has the tiebreaker over UC, but they still obviously have to go to Tulane and to Memphis. Houston now, for all the stuff that we've talked about Houston, they have won 4 in a row, have only 1 loss, and I don't think they have a very tough schedule the rest of the way. So with their 1 loss, they're gonna be throwing some wrenches into things because they don't have to worry about the tiebreakers. Yes, they play SMU, Temple, East Carolina, and Tulsa. They lost to Tulane, so Tulane will have the tiebreaker on them. But
the thing with Houston is it's kind of like you really don't know what you're going to end up with there.
No, but they're starting to play better, and they've already played Tulane, and they don't have UC or UCF, and they got to go to East Carolina, which we saw last week. That can be a problem, but but the defense, I have confidence will kind of right the ship. The offense, I need to see a lot more. I need to see, and I don't know what you really do at this stage. Like, you're 8 games in. Like, what you're game planning for Navy. What wholesale changes can you truly do?
Well, and the thing with Navy though is that's a game plan in and of itself. It's not because you have to game plan for the triple option. Although didn't they throw the ball like an awful lot a couple weeks ago?
I don't know. They didn't throw it once yesterday. They won in overtime against Temple. They didn't run the ball great either. I think they only ran for like 100, not even 200 yards. But they'll bring pressure. They had 4 sacks. They'll do all the inside stuff that we struggled with yesterday. And if you can't sustain drives, you're never going to be on the field against them. Regardless of how good your defense plays. I mean, you give up 1 or 2 first downs, that's a 5-6 minute drive.
That's kind of my biggest fear is like I was saying, when you look at our offensive production, and it's not like, an 8, getting a couple first downs and then you kind of sputter out. It's literally 3 plays and punt, or then you throw in a 10 play 80-yard drive for a touchdown, but then you go 3 more in a row where you're 3 and out. And you go against a team. I mean, that could be a case where UC has the ball for literally 10 minutes of an entire game.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be challenges offensively. You don't that's why I said that. I mean, what can you truly change? In 1 week, from a scheme standpoint, from a way you call your scripture beginning to who you deploy in certain formations, or so it's gonna be a lot. I mean, there's not a whole lot you can do at this stage, because you don't want to turn around and do all of this stuff where then you're now confusing your players because you're asking them to do a bunch of things that you maybe haven't worked. You don't just have this on this wide open playbook because you only work certain things.
Absolutely.
You got to call the stuff that you've spent the most time working and honing and fine tuning. We're not just going to be okay, let's start calling all these plays that we haven't really worked on since week 3.
Yeah. And then, sorry to cut that off. I just see Holly says over here that I guess Chad spoke about Jabari Taylor. I know Aaron had tweeted out a picture that Jabari was taking some warm-up reps yesterday. I don't think he played in the game at all.
No, he didn't. He didn't.
So he was out there taking some warm-up stuff. So maybe that's a good sign that things are closer than him being out for the year.
They're going to need him. I mean, because they're going to go 4 down line. They're going to run more of a 4-4 against Navy. So, you have an extra body out there. And if you're down a body, then that really, really hurts you, especially just because he's one of your best defensive linemen. So you're going to be asking some players that have never really gotten meaningful snaps against that type of offense to go in there and play a bunch of snaps.
Yeah. And and with Navy, there's going to be a lot of snaps to be out there.
Well, I mean, that's the thing is if you slow them down on first down, you can get them off the field. First down to Navy is everything, because it allows them to just run their stuff. If you give them 4, 5, 6 yards on first down, you're screwed.
Yeah, because then you end up with all the other stuff. Watley, Tonk saying that Watley looked great yesterday. I thought he got hurt towards the end of the game.
He came back in. He got credited with their 1 sack, I think. But yeah, I mean, the only players that I think truly looked great yesterday were Mason Fletcher and Ryan Coe.
Yeah, well, it is nice to know that we have a guy that can kick field goals.
He's kicking the ball well right now.
Yeah.
So definitely glad
I
to
rocked
see
my
that.
Mason Fletcher jersey yesterday. The one that I won that jersey on that giveaway.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? I think Aaron's framing his, but
is it autographed?
No.
Well, you got to get it to us, and we'll we can get it autographed.
Yeah, we can see if we can't get an autograph on it. Marley says, "What's going on with Corey Kiner?" We touched on that earlier. Luke said that he was healthy, dressed, ready to go, and they just didn't use him.
just flow of the game, not being able to run the ball. Just we hit on that earlier, but let's go ahead and get into some stuff around the nation, and I'm going to start with my Vols.
Rocky Top.
Mark. Mark probably is going to be in a bad mood today, but he should feel okay about it because basketball season has started, and no one really cares that you got curb stomped because you're not a football school, you're a basketball school, and the more you realize that, the better you'll be. And yeah, we just took it to them, 44-6. They honored the basketball team at one of the breaks or whatever, and they had the basketball team walk right in front of the Kentucky section and just wave to all their fans.
Hey, Tennessee, I know that we talk a lot of football stuff here, but Tennessee's basketball team
put it on the Zags, buddy,
also
in a totally meaningless scrimmage where one of Tennessee's best players didn't even play.
Yeah,
so,
there you go.
But yeah, Tennessee big win, sets up a monumental game next week, which I will see none of because, of course, it's at the same time as the UC game.
You just hit the record button, go back and watch it.
Yeah, but all my friends just text nonstop during the game, and I don't want to watch. I don't like going back when I already know what's happening.
What's going to happen?
But yeah, so Georgia, Tennessee next week. Ohio State had a struggle for a little bit and then scored 4 touchdowns in the 6 minutes with Penn State.
I still say that game was a lot closer than that score.
It for sure was. For sure. And Penn State scored a totally meaningless touchdown at the end of the game to make it 44-31. But yeah, for 3 quarters, it was 16-14. And then Ohio State had a defensive player, I cannot pronounce his last name, that had one of the most insane games I've ever seen from a defensive lineman. I think he had 2 sacks, a forced fumble, 2 interceptions, 1 for a touchdown. Their defensive end was unbelievable.
Yeah, two sacks, 6 total tackles, 2 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, a pass defense, a touchdown, and it's JT, and then I can't pronounce his last name either, so we'll leave that one.
I did not see this Michigan State players. I did not see that. I did see that Michigan State had negative yards of offense in the second half. So if you're depressed about our offense, just sometimes it can be worse.
That's going. It popped up, I think, on Twitter last night and throughout. There's like it was in another issue in the Michigan tunnel.
Oh, really? You mean having players leave the field in the same tunnels can be problematic?
For some reason, there was one single Michigan player in the middle of all of the Michigan State players after the game was over walking, and they were like pushing him around, shoved him on the ground, and he finally was able to get out of the group of them and kind of get away. But yeah,
you go solo for a minute here.
Oh, okay. So you had we'll talk about that. Michigan State, 29-7. Michigan State's quarterback was 17 for 32, 15 and a touchdown. Blake Corum, Michigan's running back, 33 carries, 177 yards and a touchdown. We all know Michigan State is not, very good. The Big Ten in itself, I don't think, is a very good conference. You got a couple of their teams at the top that are.
Did you say the Big Ten?
Yeah, it's not very good.
Yeah, they've done a great job convincing the nation that it's good football. But when it's really just Ohio State and lately Michigan.
Yeah, and outside of that, it really you cut off that fourth quarter. Obviously, you play 4 quarters in a game, but I thought Penn State really took it to Ohio State as best they could. Obviously, we know that's a collision course of Ohio State and Michigan coming together in a few weeks.
Oh, for sure.
That whole thing. TCU, West Virginia. West Virginia was bringing it in that game up until the end, and then they ended up down losing 41-31. But I thought West Virginia, they played pretty well against a team that's undefeated coming into into their house.
My biggest shocker of the day was just
Well,
Kansas State 48-0 over
yeah,
Oklahoma State. Like I
like
thought
did
Oklahoma
Oklahoma?
State was the best team in the Big 12, and they went in there and run. I mean, it was 35-0 at half. Like it was. This wasn't. This
Oh,
was right out the chute, just a beat down.
you want to talk about getting punched in the mouth, and Deuce Vaughn, who you've spoke about
Love him.
throughout this the Bearcat Brunch. We're 9 episodes in, and you've brought him up several times. I mean, he's a dude. 22 carries, 158 yards, and a touchdown. Their quarterback was 21 for 37, 296, and 4 touchdowns. So I don't know what else you're really going to be able to discern from that game other than Oklahoma State apparently forgot they were supposed to be playing a football game. Wake Forest losing to Louisville.
Yeah, gave up 35 unanswered points in the third quarter alone. Turned it over 6 times.
That's, yeah. So, Wake Forest quarterback was 20 for 35, 271, and a touchdown. And Louisville's running back, 11 carries, 106 yards, and a touchdown. Evans. I don't really know a lot about Louisville's guys because they've not been on the radar of being a quality football team for a while. So, you got USC won. UCLA beat Stanford pretty handily. Ole Miss squeaked one out over Texas A&M, 31-28. I don't know if there was anything crazy in that game. Their quarterback, Texas A&M's quarterback, 28 for 44, 338, and 4 touchdowns. Other than the Oklahoma State and Wake Forest losses, I don't know that there was anything that was totally unexpected. Obviously, you got Cincinnati losing to UCF, but I think we all, maybe before the ECU UCF game, I think we all kind of had this as one that was a potential loss, and then maybe we started feeling a little better after after UCF lost to ECU, and it just didn't. I mean, obviously, if you want to listen to our breakdown, there's an hour of it before this. So,
yep. I got a little
Notre
bit more.
Dame.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say I have more on the TV deal.
Okay, well, I'll throw this out. Then Notre Dame got back on the right side of the scoreboard and beat Syracuse, a ranked Syracuse team.
They have a dude at running back. Notre Dame has this kid that is a monster. Estime.
Yeah, they call him Baby Bus.
Beast.
they call him Baby Bus. So he and I'm assuming that Drew Pine is still the quarterback that they're going with over there. 9 for 19, 116 yards, a touchdown and an interception. And Audric Estime had 20 carries for 123 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Syracuse's quarterback got hurt, didn't play the second half. I want to give a shout out to Jimbo Fisher and Texas A&M. I want to congratulate them on scoring more than 24 points against an FBS team for the first time in over a year, actually. So congrats on that. They scored 28. Unfortunately, Ole Miss scored 31. And now your $95 million or $85 million buyout head coach is 3-5 and 1-4 in the SEC. So congratulations, Aggies. I mean, how can you possibly, with that amount of talent, I mean, I guess talent, maybe not, but not score in college football more than 24 points against a FBS team in over a calendar year? It's how is that even possible?
Yeah,
I know the SEC's good. It's not like you're playing Georgia every week.
Right? Well, I guess they're going to have to figure some things out.
But congratulations, you broke the streak.
Outside of that, like I said, there wasn't, I mean, I think Oregon, that was never a game.
Cal had them on the ropes early, but it wasn't ever going to be a thing.
So, outside of that, kind of a ho-hum around the NCAA. I mean, those couple outliers of Oklahoma State and Wake Forest.
So, you have to put it in perspective, this new agreement is a $72.7 increase in the average annual value of its current deal, which started in 2012. Let's see. In the conference liked the idea that the shorter 6-year deal that runs through 2031 means that the Big 12 will be back in the market ahead of both the SEC, whose deal with ESPN goes through 2034, and the ACC, whose deal goes in through 2036. For the A package, ESPN gets the top 4 football picks each season, 6 of the top 8 picks, 8 of the top 12, and 12 of the top 20 as part of the deal. ESPN also gets the rights to the Big 12 football championship game and the basketball tournament championship game. The Big 12's parity helped convince Fox, whose package includes 26 football games per season, that will run on Fox Broadcast Network and FS1. I think that's all the like numbery type things in that article.
It sounds like a pretty good deal. I mean, it is good and beneficial to be able to come back as long as your product stays quality.
It sounds like Fox will get some Big 12 basketball.
Okay. I mean, there's a lot of basketball games to go around, so.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think it would be, obviously, I think everybody would agree that being able to watch games not on ESPNU. I think I said ESPN Plus earlier, and I just meant that because you have to go to the app to watch ESPN, like the ESPNU stuff, most of the time. That sounds good. I mean, as long as the product stays quality, which I don't have any reason or belief to think that it will fall short of that. That going back to the table early is or ahead of the other conferences gives you a little bit of a leg up. And I think we've all talked about Brett Yormark being, the things where he comes from and the way he deals in things. I don't have any worries that it's going to suddenly drop off to, $7 million per team.
No. And it probably means that Fox is now done. So the Pac-12 is looking at ESPN and some form of streaming.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I know streaming is streaming, and people are cutting cords still and all that. But like, even if you look at the Amazon numbers from their standalone NFL game, they've basically been cut in half each week.
And like a lot of that has to deal with like the atrocity that Thursday night football is.
Oh, they've been terrible games. I mean, from the Bengals game, I had not watched a second of any of the Thursday night games up until this past one. But just, everyone's will talk about, oh, it's the NFL, it doesn't matter. Well, they had like 13 to 15 million that first week. And then last week, not the numbers for this week haven't been out yet, I don't think. But the week before it was like around 8. And that's for the NFL. Like Washington State, Cal on Amazon, I don't think that's going to do a very good number.
Yeah, probably not. And I don't know that there's the other thing is like, we know Amazon's worth a lot of money, but like, how much are they really willing to pay out for these games?
They're not overpaying, that's for sure.
Well, they're not going to overpay, and they don't have to, because it's a situation of like the Pac-12's like, where are you going to go? You give them the Phil Castellini, where are you going to go? Because if Fox is done, ESPN's probably got some left over, but do they really have, the huge giant numbers that are going to put them back up with the with the SEC soon, right?
ESPN will definitely give them. There's value in that 10 o'clock, 10:30 Eastern time slot. Like there's no doubt about that. But like ESPN's now going to have obviously be the exclusive partner to the SEC and the ACC. They're the A partner for the Big 12. how much money do they really need to give for that one specific time slot? And then everything else is going to go on streaming. Like they might like that's the thing is they might give you decent money. Like it might end up being similar to what the Big 12s is 30 million, 25, 30 million, but the exposure won't be anywhere the same.
Yeah.
So good luck.
Have at it, Pac-12.
Yep. So Bearcats in the NFL.
Mike Boone, 4 rushes, 23 yards.
Today?
No,
this morning?
Were they in London?
They're in London. They're losing 10-0.
No, this was from last week.
Up 10-7 now.
Kobe Bryant had 6 tackles and a tackle for loss. Derek Forrest had 5 tackles. Sauce Gardner, 10 tackles and 3 pass defense, and also garnered Defensive Player of the Week and Rookie of the Week and all the good things that he's doing there. I touched on it on PTP. I said I think he's getting a little bit of like veteran cornerback love because he just completely is able to disguise the little hand fighting that he's able to get away with, which is fine. And I'm okay with it because it's sauce. Travis Kelce had 6 receptions for 98 yards. Jason Kelce, again, 0 sacks, 0 pressures. Chris Moore, 2 receptions for 20 yards and a touchdown. And Alec Pierce, 3 receptions, 37 yards. And now he also gets a new quarterback. Because Matt Ryan is no longer the quarterback there. So, Bearcats in the NFL are doing amazing things. And I said it on PTP that it makes my Sundays a little bit more enjoyable. Because even when the Bengals game, the Bengals game is either a later game or like this week they don't play till tomorrow, I can still flip on some of these other games and see some guys that I care about what they're doing in the NFL.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Now Boone's on the IR now.
Yeah, I did remember he got hurt last week.
Okay, so that must have been. And Jerome Ford also went on the IR. So,
oh, he did.
Yeah, we were trying to figure out why there was no why they had gone away from him returning punts and stuff because but it's because he's on the IR. So that that'll do it.
For sure.
Keep you from the field. But yeah, and then you have Travis and Jason doing their podcast, the New Heights one. I don't know if you've watched much of that or seen.
I've listened to a bit.
Like the clips and things.
Good.
It's very, very good, and it's good exposure for Cincinnati as well. Just because I think they've probably got 5 or 6 episodes out now. The majority of them they're wearing UC gear, and they bring up Cincinnati and UC stuff.
Oh yeah,
pretty frequently. So that is good free advertisement for the university.
For sure. Well, I think that's about wraps it up, right?
Yeah, I think that'll do it. We got Navy next week. So.
Navy 4:00 Saturday, November 5th. Early weather projections seem to be a wonderful fall Saturday. So I hope to see everyone's beautiful faces, tailgating, enjoying the game. And hopefully we can, start a new streak, get back on the winning ways, and have a winning Bearcat brunch next Sunday morning. So with that, I want to thank everybody for joining again. As always, please leave comments on the YouTube. Please like, subscribe, listen on iTunes, Spotify. Come on the message board. Tell us what you think, what you want us to hit on, what we can do better. And we will be back next Sunday morning for another edition of Bearcat Brunch. Have a great Sunday, everybody.